The president-elect will announce more plans as inauguration security fears arise.
The live Doppler 8 First Alert weather team is under a winter weather. We're watching for a storm mode index 3 on a 0 to 5 scale due to continuing winter weather.
And I'm also tracking the latest on the roads out here in central Missouri and Storm Patrol 8. Everything you need to know, we got you covered here on KOMU 8 News at noon.
Coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News starts now.
If you're planning to head out and grab lunch, make sure you are extra careful out on the road. This is a look over Highway 63 right outside our station. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Catherine Merck. Thanks so much for joining us. We have winter weather team coverage today. Weathercaster Alexis Clemens is here in the studio with the latest forecast. But first, we have Chief Meteorologist Kenton Jerwicki out on Storm Patrol in North Columbia. And Kenton, how are those roads looking about now?
So right now, Catherine, everything is actually looking pretty good. And we are seeing a lot of slush on the roads, which is exactly what we expected. I have seen road crews out. They're able to get around. Let me show you here what we're looking at when I turn this around here. And you can see a vehicle just came by. It's going to try and wipe that off. But what you can see here is, again, slush roads. Now, I am on a residential road because main roads are actually doing pretty well. When you head into the city roads are a little bit worse, but Highway 63, Highway 70, they're doing okay. Again, you can see some of this slush that I'm talking about on the roads here. But other than that, we're not, again, seeing too many issues. But these residential roads do have slushy spots, so you're going to want to take it slow on there. Because, again, you can slide around pretty easily on that, what you're seeing right now. This would be what we would consider mostly covered or partly covered conditions. So we're going to keep watching that, of course. And Alexis right now, she has the latest on what we're seeing. And Alexis, show folks what the roads look like across central Missouri and also what we're seeing when we look at the radar.
Yeah, Kenton, so that he just showed what those partly covered roads look like. This is your road condition map. So we are seeing those partly covered roads just about all around Columbia. Interstates are looking pretty good. However, look up towards Macon and Moberly. Those are covered roads. That's because we're seeing a little bit more of some snowfall totals there. So make sure you are continuing to use caution on the roadways, especially if you're heading north. This is our current satellite and radar. You can see that snow is continuing to make its way across mid-Missouri. Looks like we're getting a little bit of a break in our northern counties. Still falling here in Columbia. The bulk of this system is staying out to our west. But what we're going to be seeing is that snow will continue through the afternoon. We're going to orange light our travel for this afternoon because we are watching for blowing snow, gusts up to 30 miles per hour. We're also going to be watching for heavy banding of snow, which could cause some higher accumulations, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. But Friday evening and overnight, we're going to start to see that snow exit. Could see some refreezing on those side rows of any of that melted snow tomorrow morning. I'm going to track the end of this snow coming up in my first alert forecast.
All right, thanks, Alexis. This morning, the Missouri Highway Patrol responded to this crash in Cooper County. Fortunately, troopers say there were no injuries. We have a team on the way, and we'll bring you the latest on our website, KOMU.com. MoDOT is warning drivers of dangerous road conditions today. Its district maintenance engineer says between the snowfall and high winds, visibility will be low. He says travelers should give themselves extra time and to stay off the roads if possible.
If a person needs to go somewhere tomorrow, just give themselves a little extra time. If you don't have to go, I'd encourage you not to, simply because that way you can stay off the road.
He also says to give MoDOT's snow plows plenty of space because they have multiple blind spots and don't stop very quickly. This morning, we are following school cancellations and early dismissals because of the winter weather. On our website, we'll have all the latest on school districts that have told us about changes today. We'll continue to update that list as more information becomes available throughout the afternoon. One superintendent told us yesterday, even though his students won't get off the hook, he thinks it's important to keep the tradition of snow days alive. Although his district is fully capable of pivoting online when needed, the Southern Boone superintendent says kids need time to be kids.
If we have a severe winter and we go beyond the 6 days that schools build into their calendar, I could see that as being an option. But at the same time, too, kids grow up quick, and so snow days are important.
He says people in the office have put letters on his door this week asking for a snow day, but he doesn't see one fitting in with this morning's forecast. We reached out to a number of other school districts and heard back from Jefferson City, Columbia, and Moberly. None of them anticipate a 3-day weekend to turn into 4 days. Happening today, President-elect Joe Biden will deliver remarks on his COVID-19 vaccination plan. Biden says he will lay out his plan to meet his goal of 100 million shots by the end of his first 100 days in office. It is a big goal compared to the pace we are at right now. This comes after a huge announcement from Joe Biden yesterday. Here's the latest from NBC. Here in Missouri, more people will start to get their COVID-19 vaccinations. Missourians who fall under Phase 1B, Tier 1, can now start to get their shots. Phase 1B, Tier 1 includes first responders, as well as people working in emergency services and public health. Those in Phase 1B, Tier 2, can start getting vaccinated on Monday. That tier includes high-risk individuals, such as anyone 65 and older, and people with certain medical conditions. There's no specific vaccination date yet for Tier 3, which includes kindergarten through 12 educators, child care workers, and those with jobs in food and agriculture. Though Phase 1B Tier 1 has officially started, we learned some people in that group have already received the vaccine. Like first responders, the Columbia Assistant Fire Chief says it isn't the first day for their department to get those vaccines.
We actually just started receiving the vaccine last Friday, probably about halfway through the fire department's personnel.
The assistant fire chief says one of the challenges of doing their job during the pandemic is hard like any other job. But now with the vaccine, hopefully things will slowly return to normal. And Dr. Anthony Fauci is criticizing the initial rollout of the coronavirus vaccine across the country. Fauci appeared on the Today Show this morning. He said President-elect Joe Biden will be discussing his plans to further coordination between the federal government and the states on administering the vaccine. Fauci also pointed out that the rollout began during the holiday season and that there was a bit of rigidity on the eligibility groups that have now been corrected.
You've got to have a good flow, and you've got to be able to expeditiously get it into people's arms once it gets to the place that has been distributed to. Unfortunately, that has not worked as smoothly as possible.
Fauci also confirmed that he believed it would be possible to do 100 million vaccinations in the first 100 days of the Biden presidency. Coming up, how our nation's capital is preparing for potential protests as we approach Inauguration Day. There's a live look of Kenton's Drive this afternoon. We're continuing to update you on the latest weather conditions. That's the latest. Here's what's happening right now. Columbia Police is investigating a shooting on West Broadway from last night. Here's what we know now. Officials say the victim is a 25-year-old man who was rushed to the hospital with gunshot wounds. CPD says there were no injuries or property damage. At this point, no suspect information is available.
At a time.
Welcome back. The rest of the afternoon, we'll continue to update you on the latest weather and traffic information. But first, we're going to send it over to Kenton and Storm Patrol 8 for a final look at the current road conditions. Kenton?
All right, Catherine, yeah, this is what we're seeing. And again, the main roads are doing okay. Road crews are able to do their thing. And this is a very wet snow, so a lot of it melting. We get a little bit of slush. Now, when you get over to some residential areas, that's where you get into a bit more slush. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm actually going to get out so I can show you. Again, this is a residential road, and this is what a lot of folks are going to be seeing in their neighborhoods. And you can see that there's a lot of slush on the roads here, but also look at how wet this snow is, right? It just takes my hand to just melt it away, and then there is a little bit under there. This is also very good packing snow, which means, kiddos, get out there and have a snow fight. Why not, right? It's going to be fun. So you can go ahead and do that. It's a good packing snow because it is wet. You want a really wet snow for that, and that's certainly what we're seeing here. Again, these roads are slushy. They're very good. Slick here as well because of that slush. And we're also going to watch tonight. Temperatures are going to get just below freezing, enough that we could start to see this harden a little bit. So tomorrow morning, you're also going to want to watch for a refreeze on some of these roads too. So we're going to be tracking all of that all day right here on KOMU 8. Stay with us.
Coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News Today starts now.
Good morning and Happy New Year. I'm Angie Bailey. It's off to another start out there for 2021. It's January 1st. If you're just joining us, we are in storm mode 4, and we only have 5 of them. So let's check in with Tim. That is the big news of the morning.
Yeah, that's right. Does it feel like 2020 still?
Definitely it does.
Does it feel like a new year? I mean, we're still kind of, it's spilling in. What's going on? Yeah, we are in the new year. Our storm mode index for today still at a 4 on a 0 to 5 scale, meaning this winter storm that we're dealing with, it is impactful, creating hazardous travel and even causing tree and power line issues in central Missouri because of the heavy ice accumulating on some of those surfaces. We've had anywhere from 3 to 4/10 of an inch of ice accumulation in central Missouri so far since around midnight last night. And now we're starting to see a little break in the precipitation now here in Columbia, but eventually a transition back over to some rain and eventually some sleet and freezing rain here this afternoon. Doppler radar right now shows the precipitation starting to move just north of I-70. Some drier weather currently in Jefferson City, the Lake of the Ozarks, out toward Fulton. You're dealing with some dry weather for the time being, but the roads are still icy. Live traffic map this morning showing issues on I-70, slow travel right now in Columbia on Highway 63, and multiple trees reported down in parts of Boone County and even surrounding areas of mid-Missouri. I'm going to send it over to Chief Meteorologist Kenton Jawicki. He's outside giving us a look at what some of the ice looks like outside. Kenton, what are you seeing right now?
Tim, thank you, and Happy New Year to everyone. Let's take a look. I want to show you a couple things. I took a leaf from a tree, and you can see just how much ice is on this leaf. I also took this off of a piece of grass. All right, guys? There's a lot of ice there. I want to show you one more thing. I don't know if you'll be able to see it very well, but I hope so. All right, this is an actual branch, okay? Look at the ice on this thing, right? That's a lot of ice on that branch. So we're seeing a lot of accumulation. Of course, that's weighing this down. Because that's weighing that down, that can go on power lines, and then that can create power outages, of course. So that's one thing we're seeing. You can see the ice for yourself, and that's just going to continue to accumulate as these temperatures, at least where they're at that freezing mark. We're also seeing, of course, slick conditions. I'm not going to show you that because I'm going to fall down, and I don't really want to. I think, Angie Bailey, I think you would approve of me not falling down on air. Angie, I'll send it back to you.
We don't need anyone getting hurt this morning, that's for sure. Let's check in now with Noah Klein. He is in downtown Columbia, and he's been out there for a couple hours already. Anything changing, Noah? Anything getting any better out there?
Yeah, Angie, getting, as better as it can get here in downtown Columbia, rather in Boone County here, right outside of KOMU Studios. Still some rain coming down. I know Kenton just showed you all those cool ice things. I wish I had some cool ice things, but instead I'm just here to show you that it is raining. We're seeing a lot of ice here, especially on the walls that I'm looking at right here, and just down on the ground. As Kenton just said, and as Tim's been talking about all morning, there's a whole lot of ice, and that's really the main issue right now. I'm happy to hear Tim saying it's going to slow down a little bit, but for now, again, really just a whole lot of ice out here. Travel, of course, going to be very difficult all morning, and it's just something that you really want to keep an eye on. And if you don't have to travel, as the First Alert Weather Team's been saying, don't travel. It's simply not worth it just with this ice. Our driveway is getting treated right now. Hopefully that does something, but I'll be out here all morning reporting live, giving you the latest updates from what I'm seeing. For now, I'll send it back to the studio.
Okay, stay safe. Thanks, Noah.
All right, the travel conditions outside, they're not great. They will improve once we get into the evening hours, though. We just have to get through all of the freezing rain and eventually another round of what will be sleet and snow this afternoon. So still the wintry weather, even though it's stopped for the time being down in Jefferson City, the Lake of the Ozarks, and now even in Columbia it has stopped. We do get another round here later this morning. The full details on that, how much ice we'll see and how much snow we'll see. I have your details coming up.
What a start to 2021. There's a live look over the Lake of the Ozarks. It's 6:34. You're watching KOMU 8 News.
Nonstop news starts now.
Good morning. Welcome back. Your time is now 6:44. 15 minutes of nonstop news, weather, and traffic starts right now. And we're starting off this morning with team coverage as mid-Missouri roads are coated with ice and it's raining out there or it's snowing in other parts. We have KOMU 8 Chief Meteorologist Kenton Jewicki as well as KOMU 8's Noah Klein, both live in Columbia. First low, Tim Schmidt. Let's check in with him. He and I have been hanging out all morning and he's been hanging out all night, keeping a track of all this. What's going on out there right now?
Yeah, right now we're seeing an end for a brief period of time of the wintry weather in at least Columbia and Jefferson City. Now, it looks like we have more to come out to the west. The slow transition now is going to be over to a sleet and a freezing rain, which happens later this morning and into the afternoon. That's happening over western Missouri out near the Kansas City area. That's where the snow is at currently, and eventually that whole axis is going to pivot our direction. So I know right now it's not raining in Columbia and it's definitely not raining in Jefferson City anymore, but it will eventually transition back into that wintry mess here as we go into the later part of the morning. Temperatures outside, they've been ranging a bit, anywhere from 31 to 33 degrees, but it's the wind outside that's pretty strong so far. Let's illustrate this for you using our Skycast as we get throughout the morning. Here's that brief period of dry weather here for the morning hours, followed by more of the mess into the afternoon, followed by what looks to be some sleet and possibly even some freezing rain into the 3 and 4 o'clock hours for us. Yuck. This just doesn't want to end, does it? Looks like it's a wintry mix for us today. Slight chance for some snow into Saturday. Let's send it over to Chief Meteorologist Kenton Jewicki for a look of what's happening outside. Kenton, what are you seeing right now?
Yeah, Tim, I just heard you say we're not getting the rain anymore. And that kind of surprised me because where I'm standing, I'm getting a lot of drops. And that's because I'm under a tree. And all the icicles are just coming down on top of me. But I did go away from that, too, a second ago, too. And we do still have a mist here in Columbia as well. So depending on that temperature, it could still be sticking to stuff, too. I do want to show you one more thing. I just took this off my vehicle. All right. So, folks, if you are trying to get up and get going, which, of course, not advised still, but if you have to, this is what you're dealing with on your vehicle. OK. So you're going to want to take a little bit of time, of course, to warm up the vehicle, scrape it off. Another thing, again, that we're seeing is these trees are really getting weighed down by this ice that's coming down. Luckily, some of it, hopefully, obviously, melting a little bit, as I just told you, is going over my head. And then we're going to wait and see with temperatures freezing again later on today, as Tim was mentioning. And that's going to be the next thing, is seeing anything that's wet, freezing over, and then some more snow on top of that. We'll be tracking that throughout the afternoon. I'll be back in at 5 and 6 as well. Angie, right now, back over to you.
All right. Thanks, Kenton. Still now we're going to send it to KOMU 8's Noah Klein. He's right outside of KOMU right now. So good morning, Noah, to you as well. Happy New Year. What are you seeing?
Hey, Angie, good morning. Happy New Year. And I hope you're enjoying that warm KOMU 8 studio. Like you said, I'm right outside. Not sure how that happened. But I could tell you that it is raining right now, as Mr. Jewicki just said, and as Tim Schmidt's been talking about all morning. It's raining a lot. You can see it on me. You can see it in my hair. It's definitely a wet one, and when that rain is hitting the ground, like Tim said, it's turning into ice, and it's definitely creating just some really difficult situations. Even something like standing here and talking to you on camera is becoming difficult just because my feet are sliding around. You can see it right now. It's not easy just to get a base. I'm wearing boots and that gives me some traction, but it's just a tough morning out here. So many different elements, and really that rain comes down and it's just kind of hitting me and it stays there. And it definitely starts to hit the vehicles, turns into ice like you were saying, and just a really tough way to start 2021, but here we are. I'll send it back to the studio.
All right. Thanks a lot, Noah. Thank you very much for your service this morning, for sure. Want to let you know that MoDOT Central District is telling us that Route 54 in Fulton, at the H interchange, again, we're talking Fulton here, they said ice is weighing down power lines, and that's causing clearance issues for the taller vehicles. And so they're detouring and rerouting if you're near Route H in Fulton on 54. Road crews have been out all night dealing with the winter system that's still moving around, and freezing rain in the forecast, and that concerned crews for pre-treating those roads because the rain, of course, is going to wash away the treatments that they're trying to get down. The crews prioritized spots that were less likely to be hit by rain, and they're also asking drivers just to stay off the road and certainly away from any snowplows you see.
We'll advise folks if travel isn't absolutely necessary, then just to please stay home and post your travel.
And crews from MoDOT will work throughout this morning until conditions are safe enough. One person shot at a mall in Independence, Missouri. That happened yesterday evening. Officials said it happened just after 5 at the Independence Center, where two groups of people got into an argument. A 16-year-old boy was shot in the leg and taken to the hospital. Officials said that one person was detained at the scene, and police are still looking for others involved, and that investigation in Independence is ongoing. The U.S. has passed 20 million COVID cases now. That's according to the latest numbers from NBC News. As of yesterday, the U.S. had 20 million positive cases since tracking started back in February. There have been more than 345,000 deaths in the U.S., and it crossed the 19 million case mark just less than a week ago on December 26th. 71 Missourians have died from COVID-19 in the past week. Right now, Missouri's positivity rate's at 18.5. We are trending back up in the state of Missouri. You can see it on the graph there. Remember, though, the World Health Organization wants it to be closer to 5% to consider fully reopening. And we're still continuing to see a high number of people in Missouri hospitals with COVID-19. This graph shows you the number of people currently in Missouri who are in the hospital with COVID-19. There was a spike. Now the hospitalization rate in the state is starting to trend back down. And you can see in this graph that the state's ICU demand, though, is going back up. We saw a record demand for ICU beds last week, and right now we're using 75% of the ICU beds in the state. Here in central Missouri, the number of hospitalizations and the patients in the ICU are trending down. The hospitalizations are on the left, the one that looks purple there, and the ICU rate is on the right. Central Missouri is using 68% of its ICU beds right now. A Wisconsin pharmaceutical worker has been arrested after being fired for intentionally leaving COVID-19 vaccines out of the refrigerated storage. The Advocate Aurora Healthcare Group says the worker deliberately removed more than 50 vials of Moderna's vaccine from one of the facility's refrigerators. The employee in question initially told officials that the act was an accident, but then later recanted. A total of 57 people were given the vaccine from those vials before officials were aware that it had happened. Today, the Senate will get one step closer to overriding President Trump's veto of the National Defense Authorization Act. The Senate is voting this afternoon on a procedural motion to end the debate. That motion needs 60 votes to pass. It should not be a problem because the bill originally passed 84-13. Mitch McConnell has also expressed support of this. After the motion passed, it will start up to 30 hours of debate, but with a time agreement that the vote could happen earlier. They need to vote to override the veto before noon on Sunday when the new Congress is sworn in. Senator Josh Hawley continuing to get backlash from other GOP members. This comes after he says he'll be the first to object when Congress counts the Electoral College votes next week. It's going to mark just the 4th time Congress has had to debate an objection since 1887. Most of them, though, have been in recent times. The last time the objections were made was in 2016 when President Trump won. It also happened in 2000 and 2004. Both times George W. Bush was elected. And Representative Denver Riggleman of Virginia says Hawley might be using the objection as a move to appeal to Trump supporters during a future presidential run.
It seems to me that Josh Hawley is looking for a higher office. Maybe he's positioning for 2024.
Hawley, though, he denies that he plans to run for president. Happening today, Missourians who work for a private employer will see a statewide minimum wage increase. And again, that starts today. Minimum wage jumps to $10.30 per hour starting New Year's Day, but only for employees of private businesses. That's according to the Missouri Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. The increase is part of Proposition B, which was approved by Missouri voters. And the legislation calls for a minimum wage increase of 85 cents per hour each year through 2023. The federal government extended the deadline to spend coronavirus relief fund money through the end of next year. In Missouri, that extension, though, was cut in half. It comes as part of the $900 billion relief package that was passed by Congress. However, Governor Parson shortened that deadline to June 30th, 2021. Cole County had more than $560,000 still remaining after allocating more than $1.5 million to health care and EMS salaries. That just happened this past Tuesday. Commissioner Sam Bushman says the remaining money will get used.
I do not intend to give back any funds to the treasurer. We want it to all be used in Cole County.
And the Callaway County Commission's office says it has allocated all of its unspent money. Here's the breakdown of its spending. Most will be used for COVID-19 expenses in education, as well as city and county governments. KOMU 8's Kenton Jewicki. He's out there right now in Columbia. Good morning, Kenton. Once again, trees have some ice on them, right? You've seen it.
Yeah, Angie, my trees do have a little bit of ice. Take a look at this. Let's see if I can see this. Woo! There is a lot of ice there. I would say that's a good two-tenths of an inch to a quarter of an inch there for sure. And Angie, it's not just my trees. It's also, let me switch my camera around here. Oh, it's also the grass. Look at this. There is a lot of ice on this grass right here. So certainly accumulating here. Of course, that's just going to continue. But we are seeing it get a little bit better again, as Tim mentioned. This is slowly starting to dry up here in Columbia. We do still have a mist, so it depends on that temperature that Tim's going to tell you about here in a second. So if that's still accumulating from the mist, of course, freezing drizzle is not fun either. But remember, later today, it's all going to freeze again. And then we're going to see some snow on top of that potentially too. So Tim is going to have the latest for you here with these impacts right now. Tim, what's going on?
KOMU 8 First Alert Weather.
All right, our impacts for today look to be the ice accumulation specifically. We've had around a quarter to even up to a half of an inch of ice in parts of central Missouri. Power outages possible. The ice is weighing down some of these power lines. We had an instance now over parts of Fulton where power lines are sagging over parts of Highway 54 right now and making it impassable to semi-trailer traffic. Broken tree limbs, down trees, that's been a theme here so far this morning too, and travel just not advised at least until tomorrow. Some of the winds outside too are going to be rather breezy at times this morning. We could see some gusts up near 30 miles per hour, which would also lead to some of those power line issues outside. Storm mode index for today, it's a 4 on a 0 to 5 scale. Ice is our main concern today. We've been dealing with freezing rain through the nighttime hours. A lot of the freezing rain has let up now in central Missouri. Yeah, we do still have a bit of a mist outside, but as we go throughout the morning, it looks like we have some dry weather that we get to enjoy for the next couple of hours before our next round of sleet and freezing rain starts to move in. Travel impacts. Yeah, for the rest of the morning, it looks like we're just dealing with the ice outside that's already on the ground or already on road surfaces. By this afternoon, here comes the next round that we'll get with sleet and snow, which will just lead to a quick dusting to maybe an inch of some snow on those already ice-covered surfaces. By 6 o'clock this evening, travel should improve because all of our wintry precipitation is moving out. And it looks like road crews by then can get out and do their work without all the wintry precipitation getting in their way. Our temperatures outside are currently near freezing. We've seen some instances where Columbia and Jefferson City's reporting stations are getting a little warmer than freezing, but most of us have been around about 30 to 32 degrees. Right now, things are quiet in the mid part of the state weather-wise, with the exception of northern Missouri still dealing with some of the wintry weather up near Moberly, Mexico, and near Fayette. Round 2 is off to our south and west. This system gets going again sometime by noon with another round of rain changing over to sleet and then some snow into the afternoon hours. Now, most of the snow accumulations will be over western Missouri, but it looks like we have at least until 5 or 6 o'clock, some off and on snow showers. By the rest of this evening and tonight, snow should wrap up pretty quickly. It looks quiet tonight. Snow and ice, that's still the kind of common theme that we're going to be dealing with. Ice accumulations over central Missouri, up to a half of an inch of ice. And then the snow that we get today, around an inch of snow for most of us in central Missouri. It looks like 1 to 2 inches of snow is possible over areas closer out toward Boonville, Fayette, Moberly, near Paris, Centralia, even over northern sections of Boone County. And then the snow continues to be heaviest over the northern and northern northwestern portions of the KOMU8 viewing area there. So your morning planner looks like this: 31 for the morning temperature, up to about 32 at lunchtime, with another round of the sleet and freezing rain changing over to snow into the afternoon hours by 1, 2, and 3 o'clock. By 5 and 6 p.m., it looks drier, and it looks like things start to at least quiet down. Another chance for some snow tomorrow. Otherwise, with you here throughout the morning hours.
Happy New Year. Here's the Today Show.